Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the inn. Brand new Hearthstone expansion, the Boomsday Project, has been announced, and as always, that means that Eddie Phoenix and I will be here, kind of giving our thoughts on the new cards when they're kind of revealed. We're not going to be as other YouTubers, but you guys really don't expect that because that also means that we're going to give a lot more insight, I think, than normal YouTubers. Anyway, this is a mech-based expansion, or at least it's going to be heavy on mechs. We'll probably see a lot of other elements, but there are a few mechanics that they're going to be introduced. One of the first ones we're going to be talking about, and why it's important that we talk about mechs that are going to be huge in this expansion, is because there is a new keyword for mechs that is called magnetic. Now, magnetic allows you to allows you to attach a mech to another mech and use it as a buff. So you can either, if you put it to the right of a mech, you'll play it as a regular minion, but if you put it to the left, you essentially use the mech with magnetic to buff up the other mech, giving that mech the magnetic mech stats and abilities. So, for example, let's look at Spider Bomb, which is a hunter, 3-cost hunter mech, 2 attack, 2 defense, R2 health. It has magnetic, of course, and the death rattle will destroy a random enemy minion. As a minion by itself, it's kind of a little understated, but the death rattle itself is quite good, and I think if you play it as a buff, this is a pretty decent card. Now, in general, will Hunter play it? I don't know. It really depends on whether a mech hunter really takes off. They said that there are only going to be 3 mech classes this expansion, so it's going to be Hunter, Paladin, and Warrior. So Mage is not getting any new unique cards, so they're kind of I think making sure that Mech Mage is not going to get too strong. So Mech Mage is not going to really make a resurgence in Standard. And in Wild, it's really not going to have any unique pieces, so you only have to really worry about the neutral cards. So, Mech Mage is not going to be an issue this time around. As far as Hunter goes, we have to discuss this set in terms of Goblins versus Gnomes, because we've kind of seen how mechs have played out before. And in Goblins versus Gnomes, Hunter really wasn't a mech class. So we have to look at this in terms of maybe the death rattle. If a mech Hunter takes off, maybe Spider Bomb works, but I'm not sure if that's the direction that Hunter's going to go. We're gonna have to really see more Hunter cards, but I'm not sure that Hunter's going to embrace the mech identity. However, maybe they embrace the death rattle, but I'm not sure how that's going to work in Standard, because Standard is kind of iffy still, I think, with death rattle Hunter. Normally, Hunter working off the death rattles is in more of a mid-range deck or a recruit deck, where basically it's not about the death rattle, it's about the other big beasties in your deck. Now, however, in Wild, and we're going to be talking about Wild a lot, I think, when we discuss this expansion, because mechs. But in Wild, there are some pretty healthy death rattle Hunters still out there. And yeah, they're not mech heavy, because Hunter never really was mech heavy. But the thing is that they do tend to use a few key mech death rattle minions, like Paladin Shredder. Normally, the ones that are playing these death rattle hunters are also playing Sneeds. So they're playing mechs they're playing death rattle mechs like those. And if you throw Spider Bomb in the mix, Spider Bomb just adds a whole another level to these decks that Wild Death Rattle Hunter can really take advantage of, because the death rattle of destroying a random enemy minion is really very good. I think the death rattle by itself might give some hunters an incentive to maybe slip it into like a mid-range hunter deck, but I guess whether this minion is going to see a lot of play is going to depend on the decks that come out of Hunter this expansion. But I think it's probably going to be seeing a lot more play in Wild and Death Rattle Hunter decks. I'm not sure that mech Hunter decks are going to take off. We're just going to have to see what other cards come out.
I can definitely see where you come from there. And if anything, like, I know you mentioned like, oh no, Mech Mage is potentially not gonna see a resurgence or anything along those lines, but we've still got a lot of expansion to go, and I'm looking at the neutral mechs and I'm going, I'm kind of like rubbing my fingers together because it's just like, oh boy, I can't wait to see what some of these new mechs are going to be and as they come out.
Yeah, well, the key there is that Mage is not getting any class mechs.
Yeah, not
And
key specific mechs, no.
That's going to, by Mage not getting any class specific mechs, that makes the resurgence of Mech Mage in Standard very unlikely.
Standard, yes.
Oh, and Wild, it's absolutely going to go bonkers. I was not mentioning Wild at all. Mech Mage is still a thing in Wild. I think Mech Mage is going to make a resurgence in Wild, but I don't think Mech Mage is coming back in Standard. It'd be like Bethune Shaman. Yes, you can do it. You just do not have the support tools like other classes have. So, absolutely, somebody could make a standard Mech Mage. It's just not going to be that as good as as if they had class mechs. They had class mechs, Mech Mage would make a comeback. However, I think in Wild, we're going to be talking a lot more when we get to the mechs. But I think Mech Mage in Wild is probably going to have a resurgence as being an uber popular deck. There are still a lot of people playing it, and I think it's going to make a huge comeback as far as the amount of.
I can't wait because if anything, I'm one of those players.
I know you love Mech Mage.
Oh yeah, and if anything, like I'm also looking at and commenting on the ideal of Death Rattle Hunter because if anything, there is a deck that's floating around thanks to Zilliax that relies on like Play Dead and Death Rattles and things like that, as well as being able to pull big beasties out of your deck and stuff like that. And it's just like...
But that's more of a recruit hunter.
Yeah, a recruit hunter and egg hunter.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest.
The Death Rattle hunters that we've been used to seeing, the ones that are specifically Death Rattle focused, are not really in Standard. They are in Wild, but the types of lists you would need in Standard to kind of justify Spider Bomb, I don't think exist. There's not a dedicated Death Rattle hunter deck in Standard. They basically have a different sort of endgame. I think it could potentially exist. We just need to see what other mechs come out of Hunter.
Yeah. And if anything, like I take a look at Spider Bomb right now, and I'm just like, all right, well, if we take a look at the magnetic ability to be able to attach onto a mech, it's giving it plus whatever mech you slap down, it's giving it +2/+2, which is half of a Blessing of Kings, and it's even par with Earth and Might as far as pumping it up. The Death Rattle is where I look at it and I just kind of see it being a incredibly powerful thing because of it being basically a deadly shot at 3. So you take this, you attach it onto your mech. If you need to run your mech into something, kill that thing, and then the thing that would be next to it, or something else that's on the board, to have that board control type thing. Or if you want to play it to the right, then play like Play Dead to be able to just trigger the Death Rattle right away. That's another strategy and idea that you can do. If anything, I do like Spider Bomb. I do see it as something that can be playable. So, if anything, yeah, that's where I sit on Spider Bomb. Bob, do you have anything else you want to add to it?
Well, it's like, I think the Death Rattle is very strong. I'm just trying to look at it in terms of an individual minion and a buff, which I talked about. I think it's understated as far as stats go for 3-cost minion, but it has a really good Death Rattle. But I think that Hunters are going to want to play it more in decks that can take advantage of the magnetic ability, which is why I was focusing a lot more on, do Hunters play mechs? And I'm not sure. So either we need to be looking at a mech hunter or a dedicated Death Rattle hunter, neither of which really exist in Hunter. I think if anything take off, it would be maybe the dedicated Death Rattle hunter and like more of a mid-range hunter that could use it. But as far as a mech deck, we never saw that in Goblins vs. Gnomes. It really just depends on what Hunter gets and if they decide to go the mech route.
I can definitely see that, and I can definitely agree with that. I more or less peek my head into Wild and go, I think this is where you'll more or less see it be played in a higher rate right now as far as things go over standard.
Oh, absolutely. Dane already has numerous iterations of Death Rattle Hunter that he's played in Wild, and I know for sure and that's what I was talking about. He tends to play several mechs, and attaching a spider bomb to a piloted shredder or to Sneeds is just incredibly powerful.
Most certainly. So, if anything, do I get to move on to our next card in the list?
Go right ahead. We spent a lot of time talking about Spider Bomb.
Yep. The next card in our list of discussion is Biology Project. It is a 1-cost druid spell. Each player gains 2 mana crystals. Bit of a double-edged sword, because if anything, you're giving your opponent 2 mana crystals, but also you're giving yourself 2 more mana crystals to work with. Now, the best part about this is that because Druid is a high-end, heavy-end ramp class, this thing is nuts. Because it's just like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and just Biology Project on 1. I get 2 more mana crystals. And oh, hey, look, I have a Wild Growth in hand. I'm going to play that too. I'm at 5. Pass turn. Like I said, it gives my opponent 2 mana crystals, but if I'm going and I'm attempting to ramp up as humanly fast as possible to where I can potentially start to throw down my bigger and beefier minions early on to where my opponent has to go, I gotta start kind of counteracting this. Big Druid could see a more heavy foothold and stronger stride in standard, like before everything got rotated out. So, like, I'm just looking at Biology Project and I'm just kind of drooling because it's like, oh, this could get disgustingly good. Because especially if you ramp up to like 10 mana really quick and then you just go, all right, Ultimate Infestation, screw it, I draw my 5, I get my 5 armor, I get my 5/5 on board, and now we start to sit here and play. Dooby-dooby-dooby-dooby-doo. So, Bob, if anything, do you want to kind of kick me in my backside, or are you going to agree with me that this thing's going to be super, super strong?
This is disgusting. This is meta-defining. Yes, it has the downside, and you have to keep that in mind, but Druid is really good at creating huge decks and taking advantage of the ramp, especially since Biology Project gives you 2 full mana crystals. If it's 2 empty mana crystals, it would be that double-edged sword that we talked about, but it's not much of a double-edged sword when it's 2 full mana crystals. And Druid's going to take advantage of that. They're going to be able to have the big cards in play just to ramp up and punish their opponents. And unless an opponent looks at a Druid and says, okay, I need to keep some bigger stuff in my hand, which most of the time they won't, unless it's a key card, a Druid deck is going to completely overwhelm the opponent. And think of the big Druid decks that are really in standard right now. This is definitely going in Taunt Druid, hands down. Being able to get those taunts out early, those bigger taunts out earlier, and the opponent's not going to be able to do anything about it. Plus, Druid's just going to be able to ramp, so you can have the bigger decks. Maybe you can pull off Jungle Giants. Probably not, but you could try. In general, I think most Druid decks, unless you're more of an aggro deck, I think most Druid decks do run this, and maybe even aggro decks run this just to get more threats out on the board earlier than their opponents. And I think this is potentially problematic. That's how strong this is, and it really is meta-defining. Because really, yeah, there is a downside, but for Druids, it's not much of a downside, and your opponent is going to be hurting. Like, yeah, their opponent's like 2 mana crystals up further than they had planned, but chances are they probably don't have anything in their hand that's going to be able to counteract whatever you're doing the turn you play Biology Project. Especially if you Biology Project and Biology Project, do something crazy like that and just super ramp, or get Biology Project to get bigger stuff out quicker. Your opponent's not going to be able to do much at all. And I'm going to be serious. I can kind of potentially see this getting nerfed in the future. I think this is a problem card.
Going up to 2 mana?
By giving two full mana crystals. I think
Yeah.
if you gave 2 empty mana crystals, yes, the druid is ramping, but now their opponent would be able to counteract and have answers to them before the druid can do anything. Biology Project giving them 2 full mana crystals allows the druid to be proactive the turn they play Biology Project, and that is just too powerful.
Like I said, if anything, I knew it was going to be disgusting because, like, I was sitting here talking with our mutual friend, Netsu, and it was just like, we were sitting here going, okay, we're just going to ramp up as fast as we humanly possibly can, slam this or do this, and just go bonkers.
Yeah.
And it's just, oh.
And it's a common, which means it's going to be incredibly easy for anybody to get. Which means it's going to be a lot more problematic on the meta state. If it was like an epic or something, yeah, it'd be seeing a lot of play, but it'd be costly to make for players. But it's a common, which means everybody's going to have access to it, which means druids across the board will be playing this. This is essentially a defining druid card. I'm actually going, do I put this in Baku Taunt Druid? Maybe, possibly. I can deal with not having it in Baku Taunt Druid, but that's something I have to answer. And the thing is, something like Skulking Geist is going to do diddly against this, because by the time you would play Skulking Geist, it's too late. They've already done it. So this is a problematic card. This is, I think if any card is going to get nerfed about a month or a month and a half into the expansion, this is going to be one of the candidates right here. Because I think it has the potential to be incredibly oppressive. Alright, so next we have Omega Defender. It's a 4-cost 2/6 taunt with Battlecry. If you have 10 mana crystals, gain +10 attack. This is one of the few cards that Blizzard's calling the Omega Project. All you really have to know is that there are some Omega cards that you can play them earlier in the game as regular minions or whatnot, but they do something special if you play them when you're at 10 mana. In this case, you get 10 more attack, so if you play it from turn 10 onwards, Omega Defender is a 10/6 with Taunt. In general, I think Omega Defender is kind of weak as a 4-cost minion. I don't think many Taunt decks would play this. And I'm really not sure that that playing it after you have 10 mana is really worth it, so they have a 12/6 taunt. There are a lot of late game taunts that, especially since the whole point of a taunt minion is to basically be beefy. Having more attack than health, especially just having 6 health, just not worth it for what you're wanting to do with a taunt. So I just don't think that the decks that want to play taunt minions are going to want to play this card. They're going to have other ways to get through, and they just want to make a wall, which this card does not work well as. So I really don't see Omega Defender seeing a lot of play. Maybe some decks try to run it because having a 12 attack minion is just extremely juicy, but it's very easy to get rid of because your opponent's probably going to be able to get rid of it before it can attack. So I don't think it's really going to be able to put that 12 attack to use. And in general, I just don't think it's going to see a lot of play.
I can definitely see your point there. If anything, I look at Omega Defender and I just go, ramping up to 10 mana and then dropping 2, 4, 12/6s on the board and look at my opponent and saying, deal with it. It's funny in theory. It really is. But I'm not the biggest fan where Omega Defender is concerned. The health is where it gets me. Now, if anything, like, the funny part would be, it's like, okay, I'm going to play this in my Lady in White deck, and then when I get all the way up to 10 mana crystals. I now have a 16/6 on board.
That one I did actually consider. It's like, I may, if I get it, I may consider playing it with Lady in White, but I still don't think it's strong enough, because one of the things we did learn when we were constructing Lady in White decks is that if you're picking a minion just so you're going, when this gets Lady in Whited, it will be incredibly strong. Yeah, those were some of the first minions you cut because they just didn't work out. Like Antique Stealing Bot just ended up not being worth it. You need to have minions that could contest the board or do something until you get Lady White out there, because sometimes you just don't draw her. And Omega Defender just isn't good enough. It's one of those cards that you go, if I get Lady in White, this is going to be awesome. And it just might not be worth it.
Yeah. So if anything, like Omega Defender, it may be a sleeper card, if anything. But if it does become high-end and popular enough, I do have the Mennonites. Just so we're clear. Alright, so let's talk about Electra Stormsurge. 3 cost, 3/3, Shaman Legendary. It's an elemental. With the battle cry, your next spell this turn casts twice. I have to say that if I'm facing down an aggro deck, and I'm not dead by turn 6, that I'm just going to play Electra Stormsurge and Healing Ring and just watch my health climb, because 24 health back to myself is really, really good. Or, if I'm having a complication with getting rid of the entire board, I can go on turn 8, Electra Stormsurge, and double Volcano. Because being overloaded for 4, while yes, that is a problem, I can still at least do 30 damage to board and clear board. So, I do like Electra Stormsurge for having those sorts of reasons and things like that. Things like Lava Burst, Double Lightning Storm, or like Double Lightning Bolt. I think after the first cast, for it to be able to hit the spot properly, you're leaving the second cast that turn up to chance. So I don't know if I would trust it, but Bald, maybe you can give me a little bit better and a little bit more insight into this to where you can prove me wrong.
Your next spell of this turn casts twice. It goes boom, boom in a row. Yeah. If you target the face, it'll hit it 1-2.
I just didn't know if it did the Yogg sort of thing to where it's like, all right, cast once and then...
It doesn't.
Okay.
It'd be like Bran. Like, Bran Bronzebeard, if you had a battle cry that targeted a minion, it would go boom, boom.
Okay.
That's how it works. And let's be honest, you had a lot of really cool ideas about how to use it, but that would be seriously misusing Electra Stormsurge. Let's be honest here, Electra Stormsurge is going to be used as a finisher. Electra Stormsurge is essentially going to be used in some sort of OTK Shaman deck. That's its use. It's going to be used in a Shaman deck that can pull off its combo reliably. And so you're going to be using it in terms of where they can probably use that Lava Burst on you to essentially, for a cheap Pyroblast, finish you off. Or where they're going to use it to Bloodlust their entire field and just hit you for an obscene amount of damage. Electra Stormsurge is not going to be used to allow you to Reno yourself or to wipe the board. People are going to try to use it as in the best terms possible because it will pretty much double up the overload or whatever. And really, they're going to use Electra Stormsurge to finish off the game. So I'm I'd say expect to see Electra Stormsurge more in combo decks. If Shaman can figure out a way to pull off an obscene combo, is going to use Electra Stormsurge, or they're basically going to use it as a finisher, like like an aggressive Shaman deck, and Electra Stormsurge will be pretty much used to just aggro you, so they're not going to care about any potential overload costs. So we're not going to be seeing it in those potential in control matchups. We're going to probably be seeing them in aggro matchups.
I think my only other question would be, it's like, okay, can we Shimmering Tempest with Electra Stormsurge and then do whatever spell we want to do to get like 3 triggers of it?
No, because the battle cry specifically says your next spell this turn, like Bran.
I know. I just figured it's like, wait, could we? No. Darn it. Bubble Burst.
Yeah, it doesn't say your next spell. It doesn't say you cast your next spell again. It says your next spell of this turn cast twice. Very
Break
specific.
my balls. Breaking my balls again, Bob. Breaking my balls.
That's my job.
I know. That's why I love you for it.
Another new thing that's being introduced this expansion are legendary spells. Yes, technically the quests were legendary spells, but we're talking actual proper legendary spells. And let's be honest, Eddie, this was kind of something that we were expecting to be coming soon anyway. We've seen like legendary weapons at this point, legendary hero. It's like legendary spells were kind of like expected. We were going to get them at some point. We were just waiting, and they're being introduced this expansion. Each class is getting one legendary spell that is connected to the class's legendary minion. One that they showed off is for Rogue. It's 5 costs. It's Myra's Unstable Element, and it has the effect of you draw the rest of your deck. Oh, I'm sure there will be Rogue decks that could use this. It's been pointed out, maybe an aggressive Rogue deck that just wants to get just finish the book off. Potentially, maybe Miracle Rogue, although certain people like Kibler, that's very unlikely. Eddie has an idea for Mill Rogue. I'm not sure how likely that is. To be completely honest, this one's up in the air for me. I'm not exactly wild about it, but I'm sure that there will be some players who will put it to good use, and there'll be decks that will just run with it. And yeah, I think Kibler's right. Probably more aggressive. Probably have the one-off combo decks, but I don't think they're going to be very popular. I think this is an interesting spell to kind of just gives an idea of what legendary spells could be capable of. But it's probably not going to be the most interesting legendary spell in this. I'm really not that interested in it, and I'm not sure how meta this will be.
I'm not sure as far as the standard side of things go where this will land, because like I look down the scope and I just go, that combo idea with Togwaggle of just going, all right, prep Myra's Unstable Element, pull the rest of my deck, and then just drop Togwaggle onto the board. It's like, here, you're in fatigue now. Here's your deck that is now completely empty, and I have your deck now. And if you don't have, like, my opponent doesn't have the room in their hand for it, well, sucks to be you. Now you get to start fatiguing. In Wild, I know this can be pulled off, so I know it's gonna be disgusting, and it's just like, oh god, why? Just, oh god, why? I have to look at this and I just have to go, okay, when it comes out, let's see where the cards and kind of sit/fall at the end of the day. Because, like I said, this thing's disgusting just to look at it for me. But I'm just like, you know what? I want to ask, Bob, do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, I don't care for it.
Okay, Because the card that I really wanted to sink my teeth into was Stargazer Luna. 3 cost, 2/4, Mage Legendary. After you play the rightmost card in your hand, draw a card. So, if anything, the biggest reason why I wanted to sink my teeth into Stargazer Luna is because one of the big things that comes with playing Hearthstone is tracking and keeping an eye on my opponent's hand. And usually the rightmost furthest card on not only your screen, but when you look at your opponent's side of things, is the card that is closest to the deck. This is the one that they pull from the top. So adding a whole other layer to Hearthstone's thinking and Hearthstone's strategy is, for me, wonderful and amazing. However, to talk about Stargazer Luna as an active whole and things like that, when it comes to Echo minions, your first shot with it, wherever your Echo minion sits, barring the far right, will be just dropped. Then the Echo minion will go to the far right. You'll drop the Echo minion, draw the card, and then get the Echo minion back. You have to be careful, though, because you can burn a card off this trick. So be wary of your hand size and be wary of things like that. For another way to look at Stargazer Luna is a potential Miracle / Tempo Mage deck style that's coming back. So it's like, okay, the furthest right-hand side card. So I'm just going to start pulling and pulling and pulling, and then start just duking and dropping spells to your face. Terrifying, I know, but at the same time, it's not surprising. Aluneth kills you a lot faster, because if your opponent knows what they're going up against, like if I'm a druid, I can just sit and just armor up for like my whole game and then just watch you just start to slowly but surely burn yourself out. I play around your counter spells, I play around this, I play around that, and just watch as your deck just draws itself to death. So I think we could potentially see Stargazer Luna replacing Aluneth because of the drawing / mill potential in both standard and wild. So that's where I sit and stand on it. Bulb, do you want to break my balls like you always do?
Oh, I absolutely think that Stargazer Luna is just going to outright replace Aluneth. Aluneth's days are numbered. We've had this argument before. I still stand by that Aluneth is a bad card. The thing is that Aggro Mage or Tempo Mage, whatever you want to call it, uses Aluneth because they are willing to take the chance. They are willing to take the risk because they want to just kill you before it happens. That doesn't stop Aluneth from being a bad card. It just means that Aggro Mage is just willing to take the risk. With Stargazer Luna, they don't have to take the risk anymore. Stargazer Luna allows them to go just as hard and fast at you as Aluneth allowed them to, but they also can control how much they draw. So if they don't want to draw anymore, they just don't play the rightmost card, because you don't always want to just draw the next card. And a lot of people are going to be complaining about the RNG of top decking or whatever. Actually, no, this is very, very skill intensive. When do you play the rightmost card? When do you not play the rightmost card? And you would have built your deck in such a way that you are going to be taking advantage of the fact that whatever card you draw next, you can almost immediately play. Which means that it's not so much luck as the fact that you built your deck right to just burn your opponent out, no matter what you drew. This is a very skill-intensive card. I think it's going to imply a great deck building challenge for the Tempo Mage players. It's going to replace Alanath, which just gets rid of a bad weapon out of the game, essentially. And it's just going to be incredibly skill intensive. I think this is going to be a meta-defining card.
I can agree with you on the meta-defining part. I really can.
And you know what? I'm not as angry yet with this card, because I just kind of think it's cool. Anyway, next up we have Menacing Nimbus, which is a 2-cost 2/2 Shaman Elemental. With the battle cry, add a random elemental to your hand. Neat. I kind of like effects like this, so I automatically like this. It's a 2-cost 2/2, which means the cost is right. The question is, how strong is Elemental Shaman? I'm not. You kind of see it pop up now and then, but I'm not sure about a standalone Elemental Shaman deck. We really haven't really seen it rise like an Elemental Mage deck. And even if Elemental Shaman did come out of the woodwork, I'm not sure if Menacing Nimbus finds a home there. This is a big question mark for me. I'm not sure if this finds a home or not, or if this type of deck pops up or not. For me, I'm willing to give it a try. I kind of like this type of card. I'm willing to give it a go. Especially since it looks like I might lose that bet, so Elemental Shaman might be a direction I go, I guess. So I'm interested in the card. I think it's a really cool card. I'm just thinking about the state that Shaman is in now, the kind of decks that Shaman is wanting to run now. I'm not sure if this finds a home, and just it being completely random just might not really turn people on enough to let it see play. So it's a big question mark for me. I like it. I just don't know if it's going to see play or not.
I think it sees play.
Cool.
I think it sees play in even Shaman.
I can see that.
Because, yeah, 2 cost.
Gives you a random thing that might not just be even, so you can just screw people up. I do the same thing in my Odd Druid.
Yeah. Now, if anything, is there a chance that this gives you something bad? Yes. But it also gives you a potential,
Are there really any bad elementals right now? And this is just a random elemental. You can get a mage elemental.
Yes,
I'm liking this now. I'm liking this more. Give me.
Yeah, see, that's why I'm just like, hang on a minute now. Food.
Like I liked it. I just didn't know if people were gonna play it.
Yeah, even Shaman, man. Even Shaman.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm kind of excited this is going to see play now, because I'm like, I like it. I just don't. People just are so tired of random stuff. They just don't give things a chance. And I like it. I like stuff like this.
I get the complications behind even, or at least the random stuff. I really do. So it's just like. All right. Next up, we've got Wargear. 5 cost, 5/5 neutral mech with magnetic. Strong for arena. Strong for mechs. Because, hey, this is an equipable now, in a sense. So, if anything, Paul, do you think this gets to go into your aggro-esque mech decks?
Meta-defining. Wargear is meta-defining, potentially disgusting. It's a 5 cost 5/5. Right off the bat, that's standard statting. It can be played by itself, which means it's decent, and you can essentially equip it, which it gives any mech +5/+5. And for guys, this is disgusting. Any mech for 5 mana, and you give any mech +5/+5 to smash your opponent in the face. Yeah, this is seeing play. And it's a common, nonetheless. This is scary. If mechs are a thing in Standard, yeah, of course this sees play. This sees play in Wild, hands down. Like we were talking about Mech Mage making a resurgence in Wild. This goes in Mech Mage, 2 copies, boom. This goes into any mech deck because you either play it by itself or you attach it to a mech and just make a monster. Yeah, no ifs, ands, or buts. This is essentially the... Thank you, brain. This is essentially the bone mare of this expansion. Yeah, this is scary. Alright, so next up, we have Upgradeable Framebot. Upgradeable Framebot is a 2-cost 1/5 mech. That's it, guys. It's just a 1/5 mech for 2. I see where they're going with this. It's essentially... It's a frame. It's just a neutral frame that you can just use your magnetic minions to just build on. You can just build on this and just can get bigger. That being said, I am going to be completely honest. I think you could do better for frames, especially in mech decks. Maybe the sees plays. We need to see what other mechs come out in this expansion. Depending on what comes out. Maybe the sees play in Standard because you don't have that many good frames. You can go, Bulba, Dire Mole sees play, it's a 1-cost 1/3. Alright. 2-cost 1/5, nothing going for it except for it being a mech. Is that good enough? I don't think it's good enough if you play it by itself. But it's not good. Basically, this card is not good unless you build on it. And if you play it by yourself and then hope to build on it, you better hope it doesn't die in some way. And then if you do build on it, like let's say you put this down and then play a magnetic minion on it in the same turn, the big question is the combined mana you spent to create that combined minion, is that worth the mana? Because let's take Wargear. We just basically is a 7-cost 6/10 worth it. Just nothing else. Just that's it. No effects. Maybe it is. Is in Hunter is a 5-cost 3/7 that destroys a minion worth it? Like all this is maybe go, well, maybe it is, but then your opponent might have ways to get rid of the minion. Like I'm just going off the top of my head. Sap. They sap the upgradable Framebot. All of your work is gone. You now have the Framebot by itself in your hand. And I'm making a point. In Standard, this may work, and Wild, this does not work. And even in Standard, you have better frames. Here, I just looked this up. Right off the top of my head, right off the bat in Standard, this is a better frame, you just wait one turn. Harvest Golem. Right off the bat, you have a mech that can spawn another mech when it dies. It's at 2/3. It has its own effect. It's not as beefy, but it can hold its own by itself more than this mech can. And you can build on it. Heck, 3-cost 1/4 Demolisher does 2 damage to a random enemy at the start of your turn. You can build on it. 4-cost Unpowered Steambot 0/9 Taunt. You can build on it. And we're not even into Wild yet. Wild has Piloted Shredder. Wild has Anodized Robocub. Wild has a Noyotron. Wild has what is it? What's that one? It's the mini bot or whatever that just gets bigger.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, that's a 2-cost too. In Wild, you do not play Framebot because almost any mech you can play from Goblins vs. Gnome is a better frame than Framebot. It doesn't have as big a booty, but they are a lot stronger, and they will make better combined mechs. And in Standard, Upgradeable Framebot is only good if they don't release any other low-cost mechs. And even then, you could probably think of either a low-cost mech that's already out, or a low-cost mech like Spider Bomb. Spider Bomb, in my opinion, probably makes a better frame than Upgradeable Framebot. I don't know. A lot of people are being starry-eyed about it, and I think maybe this sees plays at the beginning, but I think as people perfect the decks, like if mech decks become a thing, as the mech decks get perfected, I think Upgradeable Framebot gets cut. I don't think it makes it in the long run, and it definitely doesn't make it in Wild. This is something I think people play around with at the beginning, but I think people will probably begin to realize, you know what? There are much better mechs we can just attach our magnetic minions to. We don't need the frame.
If anything, I do look at this and I go, okay, this, like, the diormal argument, it's there, no doubt. But I also look at this and I just go, okay, can I build on this, or at least maybe try to keep it on board long enough to where I can sneak a build onto this and then surprise my opponent? Because it's just, oh, look, it's an upgradable Framebot. It's no big threat or no big problem. And then just, tap one thing here, tap another thing there, and then my opponent's going, oh, right. I just kind of screwed myself.
Well, here's the problem. If your opponent sees you play upgradable Framebot, they know immediately what you're trying to do. Like, this isn't any big surprise. It's not like you play a Dire Mole and then you, Dire Frenzy it. Something like that. If you play it, especially with this set with mechs, if you play an upgradable Framebot, your opponent's going to go, okay, they're going to try to build on it in future turns. Let me just make sure I have answers for that. I mean, it's not going to work. That's the problem.
You can try, if anything. You can at least try.
Yeah. Like I said, I think the only way this makes it in standard is if we don't have a lot of really good low-cost mech.
I think, if anything, it can start out kind of like out the gate. People will start to test it. But depending on how refined things get, people may actively go with your idea and just cut it.
Yeah, I think this really depends on how many more mechs we're going to see in the set and what the mechs look like.
Okay. Because if anything, the next mecha that we get to talk about is Beryllium Nullifier. 7 cost, 3/8, warrior epic mech with magnetic and cannot be targeted by spells or hero powers. Just standalone, without even the magnetic part of it, this thing is good. You can't target with spells or hero powers, which means it's a 3/8 on board. You slap something that's got taunt with it, it's even more terrifying when you think about it long term. In standard and in wild. I really, really want to put this in my meta-defining area, but I'm like, no, I'm going to put it in the very good spot and then kick it to Bulb because I know he's got something probably brewing over there in his brain.
Oh, this is an incredibly strong card. Again, Warrior is going to be one of the mech classes, so we need to see what other mechs get released for Warrior. But by itself, it's very strong. I think Warrior could probably play this by itself and not really worry about it. But you're definitely going to try, if you're playing a Warrior mech deck, you're definitely going to try to attach this to another mech you've been building so that basically they have no way to really deal with it. And then just go crazy. I think this has a lot of potential. I think this is going to see play.
I'm telling you, man, that new Warrior hero is going to be Build-A-Bot.
That'd be hilarious.
That's my guess.
But even if you can just summon Boombots, imagine connecting the magnetic minions to Boombot.
Oh god. I'm just gonna sink to the floor.
Oh man. All right, and finally we have Zilliax. Zilliax is a 5-cost 3/2 legendary mech with magnetic, Vine Shield, Taunt, Lifesteal, and Rush. Now, there are some people who are kind of comparing this to Alakir. Not really. I think it's because it has all of these keywords. And here's the thing. By itself, if you play Zilliax by itself, it's kind of bad. it's a taunt. It's a taunt with divine shield, lifesteal, and rush. It's for 5/3/2. It's kind of weak. But here's the thing: as a buff, this thing is amazing. The thing is, you do not want to play Zilliax by itself. You want to use Zilliax to buff another mech. Give that mech rush, lifesteal, divine shield, taunt. Now, if the mech was already on the board, rush does not make a difference. So you're basically giving a mech divine shield, taunt, and lifesteal, which is amazing. You kind of combined this with Spider Bomb and some other stuff. You might be able to even make your own Obsidian statue. Now, why rush is there is in case that you play another mech and then attach Zilliax on the same turn, you just created a bigger mech that has rush, lifesteal, taunt, and divine shield. Pretty much, Zilliax is not meant to be played by itself. You play Zilliax on another mech to basically give it all these abilities. And I actually had a disgusting thought, Eddie, for Wild.
Okay.
Voltron.
No!
You can do it! The same turn you would summon Voltron, you can play Zilliax on him.
Mega Wind Fury plus that.
Mega Wind Fury, Divine Shield, Taunt, Life. Yeah, they're dead. If they're not dead, they can't kill me. I think, like I said, it's bad if you're looking to play it by yourself, but if you think of it as a buff, I think it's very strong as a buff. I think that's pretty much the only way to play it. You're only going to play this by itself if you are desperate. And I don't think you're going to be in that position in a mech deck. So you're going to hold Zilliax off to basically attach it to another mech and just do massive damage, heal yourself, just set everything up. If you're playing in Wargear and you attach Zilliax to a minion, either Nullifier or a minion that has had Nullifier attached to it, you now have this huge minion with Divine Shield, Taunt, and Lifesteal that also cannot be targeted by spells or hero powers. Good luck killing it. So yeah, I think Zilliax is very good. You just have to look at it more as a buff than a standalone minion, because that's a standalone minion. This as a standalone minion sucks, but as a buff, this thing is disgusting. Eddie, I think we're gonna see a resurgence of silence.
I hate you.
You didn't think of that one, did you? You didn't think of Voltron.
I wasn't thinking of the Mimron's head and Voltron and all that other good jazz, and now I'm just sitting here with just this freaking, like, I wish I could implement the GIF where you see that cute little teddy bear just beating the ever-loving crap out of this little yellow stand-up stick, because my immediate thought went to, let's play Quest Mage. Quest Mech Mage. And just as our finisher, have Mimron's head go ahead, be formed, plant it on the board, be able to turn back, be able to make it to where we can have the time warped where we have it next turn. We then take the copy spell, the 4-cost copy spell. I can't think of its name off the top of my head. Molten, yeah. Molten Reflection. You attach Zilliax to that thing, to the Mimron, and then you play Molten Reflection.
Unless you're playing as a druid or a warrior, I don't think you need to do that.
No, but the thought of it is just absolutely bloody disgusting. That's the only reason I say, hey, let's do this. But if anything, I do have to say that as a standalone, if you need to get rid of something on the quick and need to gain your health back, it's pretty decent. But there are, if anything, better bases that you would want to probably attach it to as an attachable card. So, well, are we good there?
I think we're good. I don't think there's a lot of people who really understand what this thing. Although I haven't really looked at discussing the cards yet, but yeah, you have to look at the I think the magnetic is what makes this.
I think people absolutely know what this card can do, or at least they're kind of starting to crank things over, and it's just like, oh no, oh buddy, just oh buddy.
I'm really not sure after everything gets cut and spliced and all that stuff. I'm not sure how much time we have to talk about anything else regarding the expansion. Like, I'm not sure. I think I maybe I mentioned it before. It's releasing on August 7th. 135 cards. There's gonna be a lot more to discuss about. Probably gonna be discussing a lot more every week.
Yeah, because if anything, like the big drops and reveals comes on the 23rd, which is next Monday.
Yeah.
Or Monday, I should say. So if anything, like by Wednesday, we will have the next video up and ready to rock and roll. So potentially look out for it on Thursday as well, because senior editor is busy / lazy at times.
Most of the time, the second one.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so ready for this expansion already now.
One thing to be that we need to point out, because some places are getting it wrong. As you know, when the expansion releases, everybody gets a legendary. Now, it's not just any legendary. It's not like you get a free legendary from the set. In previous expansions, when they introduced something new, you would get one of those. Like, you got a free Death Knight, or you got a legendary weapon. Witchwood, you just got a free. Just got a random legendary. But a lot of places are saying that you get a free, either a free legendary or a free class legendary. That's wrong. And it's not like you think you're not getting a free legendary spell upon release. What you're getting is each class, the legendary minion, or in the case of warrior, the legendary hero, or hero card, are researchers at Boom Industries. Okay, each class has a researcher. A lot of the cards in that class are based around those cards. The legendary spell is based off that researcher, as are the projects, etc., etc., etc. So far we've only seen Electra Stormsurge, Stargazer Luna. We know of 2 others. Thing is, you're not getting a legendary spell. You're getting one of the researchers. So it's not just a legendary. It's not just a class legendary. You're specifically getting one of the researchers. You're getting one of the minions, or you're getting the hero card. So you're going to be getting one of those 9 for free. So it's not the wide legendary pool or anything like that, or just any class legendary. It's specifically one of the 9 researchers. That's what you're going to be getting for free. That's very important. I felt it needed to be pointed out, because some places like Hearthstone are getting it wrong. Because if you actually go onto the official site, they outright say that you will be getting one of the researchers. And I don't think they call it the researchers. I think they say a class legendary minion, and in parentheses, or hero, which means it's one of the researchers. So you're not getting the spell, you're getting one. There's every chance, Eddie, you could open up Stargazer Luna. You have a 1 in 9 shot.
Yeah, I hope I get her.
So anyway, I don't think we're gonna do much BS unless there's a BS extended thing you want to talk about, Eddie. I don't think we're gonna do that at time. But yeah,
that's fine.
I'm excited to see what they put out. I actually want to see more from the mech front. I'm hoping that it's not a small battery of mechs. I want to see a lot of mechs.
Oh, I agree.
I think that's going to determine how we judge a few of them. especially if we see a lot more mechs, upgradable framebot becomes a lot worse the more mechs we see. So
But if anything, we'll have to see.
we'll have to see. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.